Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl Crancake, Karabo. I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're stellar, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party. Yeah, it's been quite a rough day, and it's taken me quite a lot of rumination to get to this particular message today. So let's just get straight into it. First, let me put some caveats out there. Kindly look out for my captions. They're not always accurate. They sometimes use a small g for God. They sometimes misspelled altogether, all that jazz. One day, God willing, in the future, I will edit them. But for now, I don't have an incentive to because my long form content does not get perused. Secondly, I'm very potentially wearing app makeup, so if it bounces off and on my face, it's an app. I'm not shape-shifting. And then I have a segment, it's an empathy segment, where I basically just kind of blush my cheeks to display that I'm only human, blah blah blah. When you prick me, I bleed. When you punch me, I say ouch, etc. Look, booyah, I really hope it happens fast today, because I'm not in the mood. Anyway, yeah, I think it happened. If it didn't, whoops, alright. I do that to display that I've got blood in my body, and if you take it out altogether, I actually pass away. Alrighty, so today is the 16th of May 2024. But is it the 15th? Has it already progressed past midnight? Yeah, it has. Just past midnight. Is 6 minutes past midnight, so it's actually the 14th. But I'm speaking after midnight has passed, which is early, by the way, just in comparison to other days where I come sometimes at like 2, 3 in the morning. Today I didn't do anything else. If anything, I'm backlogged because of my computer crashing due to me not deleting content on time, and so that backtracked me quite a bit, and I'm behind by several hours, and I'm not happy with that, but it's okay, whatever. We'll do what we need to do at the time that we do it, because ultimately it's all about getting the work ultimately. Okay, guys, you know what? I've been afflicted like the whole day. I've been severely afflicted. With irritation, but also just like demonic abuse, demonic attack. Y'all know that I'm in a fast. I spoke about that yesterday. I introduced the fact that I'm in a fast yesterday, and it's my third day. The fast commenced on the 13th of May, and it shall end on the 13th of June, because I tend to keep it for a month. So today's my third day, though ain't nobody counting. I'm not gonna be counting. And I got it today. I spoke yesterday about the Lord admonishing me to fast on Sunday evening while I was washing the dishes, and I commenced the fast today for on Monday morning, then pretty much the next day, and I had a sense of foreboding as to why are you sending me to fast, because a lot of times my fasts they've never been for breakthrough, they've never been to get anything material, but rather to clean out dirt. Like, it's always been about emptying the ecosystem that I am in of some filthy entities, and some demons only come out with fasting, right, and prayer. So when the Lord told me to fast, I got a sense of foreboding, because I was like, why, like, what's happening? And now I know. Now I absolutely know. Okay, you know what, guys, gender roles, y'all need to realize just the importance of adhering to them, respecting them despite the changing times. Because when you think that you can set a person up for success when they are not walking in their God-ordained manhood, you as a woman are going to find yourself basically falling severely short. So a couple of years ago, so there's this guy that I used to date, and I talk about him all the time in my ministry. I dated him for like 5 whole years. It was ridiculous how long I stayed there, but I was a fool. I was supposed to leave within like 6 months, but it didn't quite happen. He had held me hostage throughout the relationship with spells, and I got set free from that bondage by coming to Jesus Christ. So the date of our breakup, the official breakup, it was pretty much correlated with my redemption. Okay, my final decision, basically me not being successfully lured back into that space, was correlated to my redemption. Otherwise, every time that he wanted to come back at his own leisure, I would always go back because I was held hostage by spirits. Okay, yeah, that's just the problem with being with somebody that is involved in dark arts. But that day is not even so much the gist of this particular discussion that I'm going to be having today, but rather this. It's about gender roles. Okay, it is about gender roles, and about how it is that as women, the more we disrespect them, the more we actually shoot ourselves in the foot. Okay, because then you're going to end up supporting or serving the needs of a comprehensive fugitive from crimes, because you're out here trying to make a man that's not a man look like a man. Okay, while he's still entirely and feverishly a boy. So a couple of years ago, when I was dating this guy, because we were on and off in the relationship, we kept, oh, by the way, my hair, I think it's worth a while to highlight that I'm almost finished. Look, my mini braids, like, yeah, I'm left with this little portion of hair over here to finish, but otherwise the rest, my head is pretty much done, y'all. So let's congratulate that. But I didn't even, like, the way that I'm so plastered with sorrow today, I just couldn't even, like, let you guys know what's going on over there. But I bet you noticed anyway, if you've been watching me religiously, which is highly unlikely. But anyway, let's just get to the point. A couple of years ago, like many years, like over a decade, like, yeah, I was with this guy about a decade ago, like over a decade ago. We were in yet another breakup. We dated for 5 years and we were on and off. But the off seasons were never very long because I was held hostage with darkness. They did not last a month. They did not, like 3 weeks was too long. We would always get back together. And I thought it was love, but no, it wasn't. He used to like saying that nobody out there else exists that could ever love me. What is this? Understand me. Understand me is the word. That nobody would ever understand me the way that he did. And believe it or not, I actually used to agree with him. Yes, like it. You know, when, yeah, anyway, I fell in love with that guy organically, but then he's the one that started using sorcery, because remember what I said, gender roles. Women respect them. And men too, I guess, but I'm speaking to women here largely. My ministry, frankly, is largely focused towards women. Alright, anyway, yeah. Honor them enough to know when to get out. When you're too girthy for somebody, when you are just nonsensical in an ecosystem and absurd and bizarre, and will find yourself getting violently hurt, afflicted. Because when you are out here playing Oedipus's mom, a man will never let you go. He will never let you go, because when you are the combination of his mother and his lover, you are going to be, if at all he's involved in sorcery, you're going to be essentially pursued even unto death. If you get out and stay gone, he will fetch you wherever you are, because what baby survives without its mom? But a man can survive without a woman he was with once upon a time back in the day. But when he's maintained as a baby and you coddled him like a child, he will latch onto your breasts, do you understand? All the way up until you get in the grave. And he will make out of you a Juliet while you are Romeo. You are not safe when a man is small, and this is an epidemic in the black community, so I shall highlight it. It's with the will to raise. And I'm out here also talking to female members of his family to help them understand that they made him worse. They made him absolutely worse, to a point where the woman that he married, albeit being my arch enemy, a comprehensive rival that I could not stand, I pity her today, because I can't even begin to imagine what she must be going through with that. Listen, years ago, alright, when I was with this guy, but we had broken up because we were on and off, right? And it was during an off season. This was the first time that I ever experienced just how bad the situation is in South Africa with darkness, like how ominous things are here. I wasn't even saved at the time. I just had a sense, you know, like a knowing. I went out with a couple of friends to this one house party in Morningside, Sandton, and my girl had invited us, and those were pretty much not so much her people, but it was her connection. So it's like someone that she knew invited her to that place, and we all just convoyed there and went to hang out, to enjoy ourselves. I was newly single, although I don't think I was looking to be in a new relationship. I just was hanging out with my girls in a single mode, right? It was too fresh, the breakup, for me to actually be looking for a man or anything like that. And when I got there, I came to learn that the house that we went to, which was quite an elaborate house, it was in Morningside. It was not a mansion. I wouldn't say that it was like the size of a mansion, but it was obviously the home of a comfortable human being, right? The man that owned that house lived obviously very comfortably. Okay, he could afford himself well. It was a single man. He wasn't married or anything like that. He was this tiny little guy. He was extremely short, so I was not about that business. He did try to holla at me, right? But a whole bunch of these boys were there, and they were all aboput madlesa. They were not old guys. They were the peers, pretty much, of my ex. My ex was only older than me by 4 years. So those guys look like they also could have been, you know, born late 70s, early 80s. They looked young, but they were doing well, okay? Remember, I'm in my like mid-20s at this point. Yeah, so those dudes are late 20s, early 30s. Yeah, but they're doing really well. So we go to this braai, it was like gathering, get together, whatever. Like it was like, it was a bit of a house party, but it wasn't so bountiful with cars all over the show that would qualify as a party, because it was more intimate than a party. There were not that many people for it to qualify as a party, but there were more than just a braai, if you know what I mean. We go, my girls and I go, and initially I'm enjoying myself, and there's free alcohol. Had I stopped drinking at that stage? I stopped drinking alcohol something like 2 or 3 years before I got born again in Christ. So essentially like 2 years into my relationship. So I think I was sober, thankfully. Yeah, I was not drinking. I had already dropped the bottle. Alcohol never really took well with me. Okay, cool. So, however, there were free booze. Like the dude had a bar and everything that was well stocked with some pretty elaborate alcohol. Like it had expensive booze there, like whiskeys and all different kinds of weirdo stuff. A whole bar in a house, like the kind of bar that you would find in a nightclub, was in his house. That's why I said that it was quite the elaborate home. Anyway, whatever. So, and I remember there was like a dart board where people would just like play darts and stuff. An environment where you would really have a lot of fun if those men were actually just good people's young professionals who had done well for themselves, and here it is that they're inviting fellow young professionals to just come and enjoy a good time at their place, and we get to mingle and network. It would have been cool if that was what was going on only, but there was just this. First of all, my friend was all erratic, okay? The one who invited us. I go outside with one of my other girls, and then she's like, hey, like, our friend is acting all erratic. We don't know what's going on. And then I go to my erratic friend, and I'm like, what's going on? Why, you know, she was in a car now with another friend of hers that we don't know, that she came there with. Okay. And we were like, guys, what's up? Why are you cooped up in the car? And then when we, you know, hunched down, we see this other girl crying. And then I was like, whoa, why is she crying? Like, what's going on? Why is she crying? And my friend was out of her mind. Just, it's like she was acting neurotic, almost paranoid, schizophrenic, like jumpy, edgy, and angry. She was also extremely livid. This girl was crying inconsolably, all right, while my friend was comforting her, and in that comforting state was in and of herself very neurotic, you know, could not understand what was going on here, like what's happening, like we're trying to gauge, you know. And my girl and I, the one that we went to, the one that I went outside with and saw this activity, we were initially cool, having an okay time until we saw this activity. So ultimately my friend comes out of the car, you know, while her friend is inside sobbing, and she's like, don't trust any of these men here. Don't trust any of these men here. And then I'm like, whoa, okay, cool, yeah, we won't trust them. It's your invitation, we won't trust them. But why? And she's like, I have a feeling one of them raped my friend. And she won't come out with it. She's just frantic because she went into a corner with him. She walked down the road with him, right? And then she came back frantic like this, but she won't admit what happened. She won't say. So I have a feeling rape has happened here. And that's when my whole body froze. I've always had like an inordinate fear of rape or men like doing strange things to me, because it was something that my mom was always just raising as a kid growing up. So I just developed the paranoia because she had it, right? So when I heard that, all of a sudden I stopped being in chill mode, party mode type establishment thing, and then I started to basically track back, you know, to when I was inside the house. So my friend is actually talking about how it is that she feels like her girl has been raped. These men cannot be trusted. And then she goes on right ahead to start confessing her own rape. She confessed that, I think that she's been raped because I see myself in her, because it happened to me once. And then I was shocked. Like, I didn't know that she'd been raped before. I'd been hanging out with this girl all this time. We've been good friends and nothing, like she never reported it to anybody. and she had been drinking, so I imagine that she blurted it out precisely because her inhibitions were slightly looser because she was drinking. But she flat out came out with it because she was triggered by another woman that was feverishly crying, and her cries she attached to what she imagined to be a rape, and she witnessed her going, basically flirting with one of the guys that were at that party, at that house gathering, one of the young professionals, men that looked like they were basically above reproach, like wouldn't do that to a woman. She saw him walking with her too, just down the road, like nothing hectic, like just taking a stroll outside of a party's venue and coming back all frantic. And then she's like, it's rape. I can tell that she's been raped. She just won't come out with it. She won't tell me. We are like a 5-minute driving distance, maybe even 3 minutes from Santon police station. And I'm thinking maybe we could just go and report the rape, but nobody was prepared to come out with it. Nobody was ready to come up with it. People were not trying to report this. Plus, my friend, really, she was drinking, so she doesn't want to go to a police station type thing. But some of us were sober. We could have gone and driven, right? I'm like, okay, right. So rape, right? Rape, what? Like, are you telling me that this stuff happened with under our noses, like with us just being right here? And then I start to backtrack in my mind, the events of the night, essentially. I start to backtrack, maybe like the first hour I was there. At that stage, I'd already been there maybe like 2.5 hours. And this tiny little man, like the owner of this house was a very minute man. He was petite, he was small, he was short and very tiny. And my girl, one of the friends that were there, right? No, before, the very one that basically suspected rape and was all erratic. When we were still in the house, before all the stuff ensued, she said to me, don't underestimate him, look at him being so small, alright? This guy dates models, right? This dude likes his women tall, like they tower above him. He dates models, and on top of that, he's wealthy. This is his house, right? I was like, oh, okay, well, good for him, but there's no way under heaven that I would ever be with a guy that tiny. Like, he's too small. You know what I mean? Yeah, type establishment thing. Anyway, this Okie that apparently dated models and what have you was trying to talk to me, and I was not trying to have any of it. And he offered me a drink, but then I was like, no, I'm cool. I've got one, because when you don't drink alcohol and you're in an environment where people are drinking alcohol, you will feel exasperated from sipping on Coca-Cola or Red Bull. You can't have 5 Cokes while you can have 5 Savannahs, while you can have 5 whiskeys. You can't have 5 Coca-Colas. It's just too much. That's what I'm saying. So I was just sipping on this one little beverage, which was likely a Red Bull or something. And I was like, no, I got this. I'm cool. Yeah, I don't drink though, alcohol. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. But he was trying to fix me a drink, and I rejected it because I was not a drinker at that stage already. And he would like, and again, I didn't like him. I didn't want him to continue to talk to me. When he was talking, he was looking at me. I'm tall. I'm like 1.75 meters tall. And then later on, my friend tells me that this guy dates models. He likes them tall. And I was like, it is no wonder, right, that he was trying to talk to me because I'm tall. And, well, during the time when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, I wasn't exactly skinny. I was on Diane 35 that had made me a little bit bigger than I would have appreciated, but he appeared to like them tall. Okay, I was disinterested in this dude, but I just kept on seeing around all of these guys that seemed like cool peoples, like regular oaks. But one thing that was certain, when you're in the world and you get overwhelmed by a gut feeling or a sense of foreboding, you always just brush it off as nothing. Like, I'm so grateful that I turned to Jesus, because the moment such gut feelings or such senses happen upon my shores, I take them seriously. I ask, I interrogate God, the matter in the sight of God on what's going on. Is this a new spell? Is this a new demonic attack? But there's just a funny little odd feeling, the way that I'm feeling like today. I've got that foreboding, never mind the sense of foreboding, but my physical body is just really kind of worn out. When we went into that house, I personally felt showered. I can't say overwhelmed, because then it suggests that I became dizzy, but I did become overwhelmed by a foreboding. Like, the moment we walked in after parking our vehicles, I had convoyed there with one of my girls, and the two of us went in, and as soon as we walked through the front door, I was showered by a feeling of foreboding. like something kind of eerie, ominous, but it was a party scene. It was happy people, and there were smiles. They were all smiles. There was nobody there with the funny little eerie look, nothing. But that feeling showered over me, and that feeling never left me the whole entire time. There was just always this, I mean, you could totally couple it with like a playing of a violin in the background, just going see as you're walking, like, you know, horror suspense movie type stuff. You can tell something really eerie is gonna happen here, but like you're just like brushing it off. Like, imagine the girl in the movie Scream just before she gets killed, that kind of music. You could totally imagine that soundtrack just going in the background when I walked in. That, like, that level of foreboding, like just a telling, a suspicion that something ominous is going on in here, something horrible is happening in this environment. Okay, yeah, cool. That sense of foreboding just lingered on me. Do you understand? It just lingered the whole time. But I was in the world, I was lost, and I did not really quite appreciate how tuned into the spirit I actually was. I've been like that pretty much all my life, kind of a little bit more attached to, like, I've always had a sentiency of the spirit realm, even as a kid, on the come up, but I always just brushed it off as nothing on the come up. Okay, like, it was only when I came to Christ that I made I finally respected that it was a spiritual gift in the making. Okay, very well. So I walk in, and this eerie sense of foreboding showers over me, but I continue. Good peoples, playing darts on the dartboard, making acquaintances with people, good company. Like, there was nothing physically telling of suspicious activity in this environment, nothing. But spiritually, there was something up, okay? It stank even though it wasn't rotten, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, that environment was exactly like that. And I had remembered that thing's just kind of lingering over me, following me throughout the entire time. And when my friend was like, don't do later on then, with this erratic activity in the vehicle and her coming out of the car and then saying, don't trust these men, I was like, yeah, okay. The reason why I just jumped on okay as quickly as I did, without even really asking her too much why, plus it was her connection, so really I trust her opinion, her suspicions and what have you. Largely it was because I had picked up something. I had picked up an eerie sense of somethingness in the room, okay, in that whole house, like just the inside of it. Yeah, I had picked up something. So when my friend was like, what is this? Do not trust these men. I was like, okay, yes, fine, you cool. And then she just went on continuing to vomit what it is that was in her heart. And then she shared her own rape testimony, story. She just confessed that she had experienced this thing. And she didn't elaborate on the details because she was drunk and she was so neurotic. I did not hammer on it, but it caused my heart to sink so much. Like a cold feeling came over me because I just have a thing about rape. I have a thing about violence against women. Coercion, I can't, okay? I just, it made me freeze. And it pretty much, I called a night on my behalf. It called a night on my behalf. I was not about to go back inside that house. I was not about to continue with the party scene or whatever. We essentially, it would only be about half an hour from that time before we would all leave. And you know, the way that we left, it was still kind of early. The night was young, you guys, and we were young, mid-20s, so it's Santon. We could have gone to Fredman Drive News Cafe and continued to drink there, or chill, hang, dance there. We could have gone to Taboo nightclub. We could have gone anyway, but like Papa, we all lived in various parts of Johannesburg. I stayed in Redwood. One of my girls stayed in the south of Johannesburg. She stayed in okay, I'm not going to highlight where this particular friend stayed because then it'll highlight who exactly she was, and so therefore pinpoint the rape on her. But we all stayed, like there was like maybe 4 or 5 of us, using perhaps like 4 cars, you know. We all stayed in the Johannesburg area, different hoods type thing, and we all just I went on the N1 South highway. My other friend, the one that stayed in the south of Joburg, also N1 South to go home. They went M1 North, etc. Like we went home in a very weird way. Like it was not even a normal way that we tended to be whenever we were out on the night together. It's like there was an ominous sense of foreboding, and we had to go somewhere safe, somewhere where it was home base, somewhere where it was a hammock within which we could swing and essentially reflect on what's going on here at all. What's going on in this country? What is going on in Johannesburg? Like at all. We drove out of that Morningside in road onto Rivonia Road and just forked. Our vehicles just forked. We didn't stop at a garage to regroup to ask, okay, what next? Siahwe. We obviously can't be at that place because those men, no, we forked. We all just had an inherent knowing that we are going home. It's like something sobered us. It's like a bucket of water was poured on us and told us, ladies, go home. Go home. Tonight is not the night to be out. You are not safe. Something eerie, ominous, and dingy is coming for you. And the best place that you could ever be right now is where your mama stays or where your apartment is at. Or yeah, just go home. And we drove home. I drove home. I stayed in Honeydew. I had an apartment in Honeydew. I didn't stay with my mom at the time. I had my own apartment. Drove to my apartment. We just went home. We just went home. And guys, that sense of foreboding was so exquisite. It was so excruciating that I could not stop but ruminate and labor on it all the way home. And the main theme that was evaporating off that foreboding was darkness in our men. Something dark in our men, like a very deep ominousness. I did not immediately, it would only be years, and my salvation essentially would cause me to think in retrospect and conclude what was going on there, which I'm going to get to right now. And so therefore I did not automatically assume at that very moment when I was driving home that ominous thing is occult magic, involvement in dark arts. I just knew that there was something dark, seriously nefarious about men. And I had a sense that it was men in South Africa, that it was black men in this country. It was sitting on me so terribly, this thing, that I felt like it was a black man problem. Like I told you, those guys were my peers. Late 70s, early 80s. Okay? It's not like they were abo put malisa abo kehla, and yet they were coining it. They were doing really well. And look, I did well young in my career, but not well enough to own that like an elaborate home in Morningside. Those guys were young. They were super young. And they were collectively young, like they were collectively wealthy. Like in other words, all of them had lots of money. It wasn't just the one dude that broke big because he was the genius that, like pioneered some revolutionary idea that made him a millionaire at 22. And so it's understandable when an entire scheme of such young men, like all of them, are so wealthy. It just makes you be like, you odd one. What are you doing? What do you guys do? Why are you all so wealthy young? Like usually with young wealth, guys, there's one guy, right? Do you agree? Or two or three in a crew of like 7, 12 guys. The one dude that started a business and it just burgeoned. But everybody else is still trying to kick it. Nyana, they're a business analyst in corporate South Africa. They're a project manager. They're doing well, but not Mark Zuckerberg well, if you know what I mean. Just well in the normal sense. Like you are en route, you've got a nice little healthy growth trajectory. One day you might become a general manager for your company because you're such a bright young man. But you're not exactly Oppenheimer. Like, yeah, an entire crew of friends having that level of wealth. Something sketch about that. Something is sketch. And those guys were all on that money. They were all on that money. Their cars, they were parked at that man's house, at their friend's house, were on some other level. The kind of stuff that would cause young women, to essentially spaz hard knock over them, because when young women want wealthy men, they sort of kind of tell themselves that, Joe, I'm gonna have to date older. I'm gonna have to be with like some 45-year-old dude. I'm gonna have to date a married man. I'm going to have to go 50. I'm gonna have to be like Anna Nicole Smith here if I want a man that's really super wealthy. Just go and ask Kanyimbao, right? What she did. Yeah, so however, there tends to be no attraction there, where it is that the man is much older. He's got this pot belly and everything. And however, the woman is this cinched waist 22-year-old. It's clear there what's going on, girl. You're in it for the money type establishment thing, but there's no attraction. The woman is in it for the money and that's it. There's no attraction. So, I mean, if you can get your bread buttered on both sides, where it is that you have a beautiful young man that is also able to take you on all of those trips across the world, have that kind of money, it's like a jackpot for a lot of young women. It's a jackpot who are money hungry, who want men that are wealthy. It's a jackpot to get a man that is that wealthy and still looks like he just graduated like university yesterday. Yeah, he is good looking, he is attractive, and he's got money. He is what would be called the perfect 10 in male in the viewpoint of the male world, right? He is an all-rounder perfect 100% guy. Yeah, like, those are the kinds of men, therefore, that a lot of young women would absolutely be like, whoa, what in the world? Like, have I just hit a jackpot type thing? Here it is that I am a 24-year-old woman with a 29-year-old guy that's like super rich. It's like, it's perfect. It looks perfect. It feels perfect. Yeah, until you discover certain other ominous edges to this particular Cartesian plane that are unperused, uncalculated, unimagined, and so therefore largely ignored. However, very, very destructive enough to not be ignored, yet they are. Yeah, these men were all prolific and they were all young. And when my friend said that rape, I remembered the sense of foreboding that I had. It put a bad taste in my mouth. We all shortly afterwards decided to leave. And as I was going home, as I was on the highway driving back home, all I could think was, all that was sitting on my chest heavy like a log was, something evil is going on in this country. This was, guys, I was 24-5. Okay, like 24-5. Goodness. Yeah, I was still, yeah. Like, I'm trying to help you understand that this is in 2009, 10. This is that long ago. Almost 2 decades. So if this issue has ramped up and exponentially, the growth of it has been feverish, who has been targeted? And what is our landscape now looking like? And what then is the outcome of people's behavior as a result? And what is therefore also the outcome of women that are finding themselves in these bad shoes? It's written in 2 Timothy 3 that people in the last days, that perilous times will come in the last days, and that people will be lovers of themselves. And the next thing is that they'll be lovers of money. When you love money, indeed, just like it's written in God's word, the love of it is the root of all kinds of evil, and many who have wandered after it have pierced themselves with many pains, many sorrows. Therefore, this last day's conglomerate pierce themselves with many pains by pursuing money, because it is in pursuit of such wealth as this that gets people in some pretty ominous situations that are just dangerous for them, for their souls to be in, and for their futures. It's just an unsafe environment, because where is this money coming from? This last day's conglomerate of lovers of money, where are they getting it? Younger and younger. Like these days, there's this push for young people to make lots of money young, and a lot of them are banking big because they are becoming social media stars. They upload some whatever on TikTok and get like millions of views, and then next thing they're getting sponsorship deals. They've got bigger home, they've got more money than their parents, bigger homes, bigger cars than their own parents, and so you are just having this young person having more money than what they can even fathom. It's doing that. This society has produced a lot of young, like teenage and early adulthood millionaires. But that was before that time. In 2009, it was before people just became mad, ridiculously influential just because of social media. People just becoming celebrities because of YouTube and what have you. So essentially, the acquisition of such wealth, largely in young adults, was inorganic. It was not organic. It was not like starting a TikTok account that blows you up next thing you're in Italy doing a photo op. It was a lot more nefarious. How it is that money came about. A lot more nefarious. A lot more unaccounted for as to how you just suddenly overnight catapulted just like that. Overnight. Okay, right. When I was driving back home, hold that thought. When I was driving back home, all I could think about was there's something evil going on, ominous, in our men. I did not, however, attach it at the time to occult involvement. And this thing, it just sat on me so terribly, and it followed me around like a sack of potatoes so badly that even though I was pretty determined to this time leave, like I'm done. Like my ex and I were in and out of fighting and getting back together. He just would not get his act together. I was lamenting about a lot of things in the relationship. And at that stage, I was broken up with him. I was single on that day. I was a single woman hoping to convert 2 weeks broken up into 2 months and then 2 years. I was determined to stay gone. And that night, the way that I had such a strong sense of foreboding that men out there are evil. Given that I was already in a relationship for 2 years with one that I did know. When I was driving home, all I could think to myself was, better the devil you know than the one that you don't know. I was thinking about my friend and her crying friend, the rape confession, the rape suspicion, the sense of foreboding, the wealth in the hands of these young men that are my peers. All that thing that followed me from that house, and how sober we all were when we went home forking to our various destinations. I was en route home, and I was like, I want to be broken up with this guy. I don't want him, but yes, like it, but I'm gonna be single. I'm gonna be single. All I could think about was I'm going to be single and then be in the market to be with somebody new. And what if one of these men become mine? What if one of these men are all I have? All I knew was that they were evil. I had a strong, deep knowing that they were evil. That the guys at that party, at that house party in Morningside, were evil. And I could not, for the life of me, take whatever evil they were in my stride. I could feel the thickness of something ominous as soon as I walked in the front door of that house, and I did not want that in my man. And I knew that I was with somebody that where I did not feel any of that. I did not know any of that. Plus, I understood that what it is that those men were emanating, what was coming off them, like oozing, essentially, off their bodies. I understood it to also be attached to their wealth. I understood that it had a lot to do with all of their money. And I was like, my boyfriend doesn't have much. But my goodness, there is a wholesomeness in there. There is something that I can trust, even though we fight over stupid stuff. Bottom line is, he's human. He's a person. There's light in him. There is light. All that there was in that house was darkness. And I was like, I don't want to be with a canyon of a man. I don't want to be with a grave of a man. I don't want to be with the cemetery of a man. Somebody that is burying bones. That's all that he is as he walks around, because there is no more life in him. This is a person that is unregenerate. I have not been born again yet. It would be years before I would get saved. And also years before I would officially get out of that relationship that I was in at the time. And yet I could feel that I did not want all that death. All that death. Essentially, biblical principles were spurring up in me, even though I wasn't even saved at the time. So while I was determined to leave my boyfriend, well, I had left him, but I was determined to stay gone because we kept getting back together. Okay, I called him that night. I called him as soon as I got home, right? I called him as soon as I got home. Guys, what happened there sent chills down my spine. I got to my apartment and I cuddled up with a hot water bottle in my bed, and I wanted to ignore my phone and I wanted to ignore pressing dial, but I couldn't, and I called him. And usually whenever we would break up, my ex and I, he would be the one, after a couple of days have progressed and the dust has settled, to contact me. Usually I was determined and I was like, I'm gone, I'm done. So I would never have been the one to reach out to him. That night I called him. I called him. I was like, hey, it literally, the words that I used verbatim when I was speaking with him on the phone where it's a jungle out there. I called him, I was like, hi, how's it? And all that puppy talk, babe, whatnot. I miss you. And I come from this funny party in Morningside, and there were just these weird guys there, and they just gave me this funny feeling. And it's a jungle out there. I realized that it's not broken, that you and you're safe for me. There was just something so evil. I basically explained to him what in the world was largely going on over there, and he was in agreement with me. He was like, yeah, babe, I told you that the whole relationship, he kept on saying stuff like, I'm the only person that will actually understand you, that will actually get you. Like, that's manipulative talk, but anyway, I didn't see it for what it was. And yeah, he was like, I agree. Anyway, whatever, we got back together because of the fact that I imagined that better the devil I know than the one that I don't know. Where am I gonna go? I felt beleaguered. I felt trapped. I felt like there is nowhere to run. In this whole entire Johannesburg, in this whole entire South Africa, I felt like there's no other man out there that is going to be normal, because of what it is that I picked up at that house in Morningside. I was like, if they're like that, it's a risk. I imagined myself as one that was basically throwing myself out in a maze, a labyrinth that I could not navigate, and so I was just ever going to twist in the wind in it. I was just going to keep on turning corners and hitting walls, trying to find love, and find myself one day with somebody so incredibly evil that I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I stuck around in something that, like I said, it was a devil that I knew instead of the one that I did not know. Years later, after getting born again, I put the pieces of the puzzle together, I did the mathematics, and I recognized that what it is that I was picking up in that house was a severity of demonic ritualism. There was a lot of witchcraft involved in those men. I came to a conclusion of that nature because after coming to Christ, my spiritual gift was, of course, chiseled and everything. And during the time when I was suffering severely in Naturina, the Lord would keep on re-energizing the image of that household, of that home, that house in Morningside, in my eyes, to help me understand the nature of South Africa and how it is that pretty much the country's like that now. It's no longer just those dudes in Morningside, but it has spread like a gangrene to the country. It has spread like a gangrene what those men were back then in 2009, 10. That situation has spread like a fasciitis, like a necrotizing fasciitis, like a flesh-eating bacteria in the country. It has grown feverish fangs. So the sense of foreboding that I felt was right. It would be like getting an eerie feeling and hairs raising on your skin just before a tsunami when you're close to the beach. You can tell that something is about to happen, but you don't have time to run. You don't have time to run. So when the tsunami finally comes, you saw it coming. You could sense that it was coming. And so all you can do is just stand underneath it and basically get your spiritual affairs in order and ask the Lord to take you into his abode. Into your hands I commit my spirit, because there's no running from this now. I'm dying. So let me go to heaven. Yeah. Like when you pick something up when it's already too late, when it has advanced too far, when the waves are already about to crash into the first restaurant and you are only 10 meters away. There's no amount of running that you can do to outrun that water. I was picking this thing up at that stage. It was late. It was late. It was already coming. All I had was the foreboding and the shelter that I found. Essentially, the little prayer before the wave engulfs you was my redemption. I got saved 2-3 years from that date. But the waves were already crashing on the country. The epidemic had already commenced. My friend's neurosis and the frantic, screaming, the hysteria of her friend was only the beginning of what would start to happen to women who would not get heard. The country is now suffering from a severity of gender-based violence. The waves have crashed and burned, and the unfortunate thing is women have not appropriately responded to the epidemic of occult initiation in our men, in the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of money, in the pursuit of wealth, in the pursuit of that which is going to award them respect in society. It is a gangrene that is spreading, like I said, like a necrotizing fasciitis, a flesh-eating bacteria. That stuff is only curable through an amputation. There is nothing that can be done. No amount of bacteria, no amount of antibiotics is going to stay the bacteria from continuing to spread. It has to be amputated, and this here was not amputated on time. It also speaks volumes to how fluffy the church has been in this country. It speaks volumes to how the South African church was not able, first and foremost, to identify this as a spreading gangrene. Like, where were the prophets? Where were they? If a woman that was outside of the faith of the Lord Jesus Christ could sense this foreboding, this tsunami coming, not knowing God, and so therefore unable to place what this threat is rightly in the perspective of prophecy, if I could pick it up, where were the Christians who already tuned into the spirit? I spoke yesterday about some rando dude that I met long ago at MTN when I was working there, that I fell for because I thought he was a Christian. Well, he was. And how it is that he is a prodigal son presently. A man that has tarried far away from the faith. And he is doing funny, strange things. And he's been in the faith, a Christian convert, since he was pretty much a child, because he was raised up in the church. But he is in and of himself dabbling with sorcery. And I told you guys about how it is that the Lord had to be the one to tell me, be more gentle with him. Because he is, I want him, he's my child. He has, however, tarried away from me because of the seeker-sensitive church that he belongs to, and how it is that he was not raised up in the true admonition of my word. And so he has not held fast to me because of false doctrines. They have tossed him to and from with every wind of doctrine, and it has made him compromised. So if at all people who have like a flickering light of the Holy Spirit in them, that are not walking in the fullness of what God will have them do, are all that we had. Of course, South Africa was screwed. We had those kinds of we had that guy, the dude that I spoke about yesterday, who I, frankly, when I came to understand Christianity properly, and I learned fruit, that we identify disciples by their fruit, I concluded that he was lost. I literally called him Demas. I said he left us because he was never of us. For years I've called him a charlatan. I've called him a counterfeit. I've called him a false disciple. I've called him a false sheep, a false disciple, a false shepherd. The whole time I came to a conclusion that he's not born again. Because what are you doing using sorcery? Until the Lord himself would be the one to like basically pull me out from clumping him with all of the reprobates, because he is a lost coin, a lost sheep that is reprobate, muddying his garments in these streets, walking around with prostitutes, having a perfectly sound home to go to. He will endure his judgment. He's like Samson with Delilah, a man that God will never turn his face away from, but that has completely muddied his garments with an immoral woman, an immoral world. He has partook in harlotry, albeit being a son. I could not for the life of me understand why the Lord has been displaying him in my dreams in white robes, and I was like, Ganjani, he's lost. He's no different from my ex. He's walking just like all these other randos. And you know, he would, like I said, keep on staying me from finishing him off in my videos on some, you reprobate you. And I spoke about how it is that sometimes you are David, sometimes you are Saul. God hears bleating sheep, Samuel hears bleating sheep, and you're done for. Or Nathan comes and tells you that you've stolen a woman and killed her husband. However, there's a shot for you, but the sword will not leave your household. And how it is that dude is more like David with Bathsheba versus Saul, who was written off with the bleating of sheep. So when you've got David in the season of Bathsheba, in the era of Bathsheba, that level of indiscretion in a man, that level of just comprehensive self-deceit, narcissism, walking around thinking you've arrived and can't nobody touch you because you're MC Hammer. If that's all we have in the country, when such an ominous gangrene is spreading in these streets, when men like those are all we have, when the church looks like that, of course it's spread. Of course now today it's trying to chew at my toes. Of course I've got more people that I loved, that I cared for, that had comprehensively different personalities than what under heaven it is that they are walking in today. Gone, taken. People that I broke bread with, people that I used to laugh with, people that used to be my people that I was tight with, people that we were easygoing together with. We went to school, Gaufela, goodness, it was just so much fun. We were collegial. We danced together. Gone. They're gone. They're gone. They have been changed. They've been taken over by a necrotizing fasciitis. They have been consumed. They've been bitten by a zombie bug. And it has turned them cold. It has stilled their hearts. It has flatlined them. I don't recognize my own country. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't recognize South Africa. I don't recognize people that I grew up with. They are so, like evil. They're so transformed. They're so changed. They're so different from what they used to be. And their pursuit of me is so feverish that all I can do is cry over, mourn over the death of literally an entire fleet of human beings that I knew all throughout my life in one sitting. It would be like everyone you've ever loved gathering in a building and somebody bombing it. And you are the only one that got late to the venue. And so you lived and saw the mushroom cloud from a distance where you were walking towards the building. And you just know that with that explosion, it's this person, 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 proper like everyone you've ever known from the time you were in primary school all the way up until I lost my job at it. Like a building was nuked with everyone I had ever laughed with, broken bread with, shared a joke. Goodness gracious, easy going good peoples have been taken over by this gangrene. It's a zombie apocalypse, similar to, listen to this, the one in The Walking Dead. You know how one day it's life as normal, and then the next day almost everybody that you know inevitably after months have progressed just starts to die. Like if you've watched The Walking Dead from season 1 to up until wherever it's at now, I even stopped watching it the way it's so depressing. People you don't expect to die, guys. People that you don't like, you know, people that are supposed to be staring, like people that are such pivotal or key characters in the show get bitten. Like Rick's son got bitten, Rick's wife got bitten. Herschel, Maggie's dad, bitten. Like, Enid, bitten. Like, people that you don't expect would get taken by this. You think that they're gonna live. Like, just live. Because they're so key to the show. So you get to a point where your heart now sinks because you don't know who's next. Is Daryl gonna go? Is this gonna go? Like, yeah, that's The Walking Dead for you. You stop looking at people as distering. Because every so often there is an episode where someone that was not supposed to die dies. Someone that was much too important. It doesn't follow the rules of regular viewing, where people always expect certain people to keep living. It doesn't. The Walking Dead is so dystopian. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. People there die that you tell yourself are going to get to the very end of the show, alive, having made it, having conquered, and they get killed off because they either get bitten by a zombie or they get killed by a gang, a mob, or whatever. A world where people that you trusted the character of so much that there's no way, man, that this person would ever go out like that, and then they do. Oh, guys, I'm not trying to get emotional. I don't want to cry. Like, people that you thought you knew, like you thought you knew that there's no way that Lona would ever do anything like this, and then they're gone. Just like the death of Rick's son in The Walking Dead. Or Enid, that one got me. Like, big time. With her head impaled on a stick and her still talking. Like her mouth still moving. That one really got me. She had been a sole survivor with her parents having passed away, and then she dies later on. They let them grow up with the show. You meet them when they're still toddlers, and then they get nice and tall looking like teenagers, and then they die. Yo, it'll kill you. The Walking Dead will murder you inside. Basically, it's their world, and we're just living in it. Where you just acquaint yourself with grief. Children just passing away in your grill. People, like, yeah, like you tell yourself that it's pointless for me to continue to try to love anybody anymore because tomorrow they might get taken by the walkers, the rotters. That's what I have lived. I have lived like Michonne or Rick or any of the surviving characters, Daryl, in The Walking Dead, that are still around in season 11, I guess, where it is that I have watched literally my whole family, friends, everybody just die. People that I never. Like, initially when I started talking in my ministry about sorcery and people who are involved in it, I would say stuff like, you know, this stuff, it doesn't suit Lomuntu, this stuff doesn't suit this person, it doesn't suit this person. I was in so much shock, I had so much cognitive dissonance because this is not the kind of stuff that this kind of person does. Like, it does not suit them. It's not the kind of, like, to just dabble with witchcraft, to go visit a sangoma, to destroy a person's career, like, to enable yourself along with this wickedness. For me, it was, it does not suit them. But I stopped imagining that just because you look a particular way, speak a particular way, are a particular way, and just because we've made a joke in the past about this, just because we have mocked it in the past, doesn't mean that you are still mocking it in 2024. Anyway, having spoken that, allow me then to highlight that this person that I turned to because the world was getting so evil and I saw that men were getting so dark, became one of them. My ex-boyfriend became one of those creeps. He became one of those men that I ran away from. I ran to him because I saw there was light still in him. There was light in there. And I ran back to where it is that there was still humanity in a person, not yet converted. And then one day I came back home and my boyfriend was grunting, groaning, incoherent, gone. He's gone just like that. He's taken just like that. Guys, it was day and night. The change of my boyfriend was day and night. The change of people in my life changed day and night. And the thing with my ex-boyfriend is that he changed even before I got saved. Like, some of the changes, I can maybe say perhaps this person is manifesting demons in my growth because I'm filled with the Holy Spirit. But some people went awry on me even before redemption. So there was no Holy Spirit antagonizing what they are. They just flipped. I contacted that friend that said that she was raped the next day, and I asked her, how did this happen? You told me, you remember? You were drunk. Do you remember that you told me that you got raped? And she then went on right ahead to spill the details of what happened. She spoke about how she was raped by the friend of her friend. So basically a guy that she thought she could trust. Back in the day, I could, like, the friend, she was raped by the friend of her friend's boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend's friends. My ex could leave me, drive out to the garage to get ice and come back with them without me feeling like one of these dudes could rape me. But the situation has gotten so bad with our men that now a man cannot leave his girl with these boys and she be safe. They can just have their way with her. My friend a man just had his way with her, despite the fact that she was the friend of the girlfriend, the like long-term girlfriend of one of these boys. Like how awkward does that make everything? And he just decided that I'm gonna have you. He just raped her. And after that, I was like, hey, Batong, okay, are we safe anyway? Can I introduce my friend to my boyfriend's friend and leave her with him and trust that when I come back, she's still going to be okay? Because that's exactly what happened to my friend. Like, I mean, when you know the saying, birds of a feather flock together. If you have been dating a guy for like 5 years and then he introduces you to his friend and you go to the garage and come back, you don't expect that in that time somebody's gonna get raped. You just don't. As a woman, you would thoroughly just continue. You would sit in that house and just continue to, like, you know, have a conversation with this guy, and then he decides to come on you. Doesn't care that his boy is gonna be really awkward now with his girl, now that his boy has raped her. You know, that like stuff like that, it just started happening, guys. And now I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening, Lana. Time out, please. Time out. There is something ominous that largely our men, largely our men, but women have also been involved in it too. But the depth of it is men that got involved in. And this thing commenced, I can't say that it commenced in 2009-10. It was already, like I said, it's like a tsunami that was brewing. And you're at the beach and you don't got time to run away. You don't have time to run. It was already brewing. So I don't know how far back it went. But this initiation into the occult of young men in order to make money fast and furious, that they might get their dreams come true. Yeah, no. It has caught a lot of fire in the country and it has changed everybody. I know. Not everybody, of course. Like, I'm using that more like a hyperbole, but it has changed almost everyone I know. It has left me with such a severity of angst and cognitive dissonance because the world that I grew up in is gone, y'all. It's gone. It's gone, and I mean, it appears like it's irrecoverable based on what the Lord is showing me. It is not coming back. It's not coming back. There's been a tsunami of occult initiation in this country that has changed people's personalities. My boyfriend, my ex, did a 180 on me when we were still together. I was with that dude for 5 years, and in the last 4 months of that relationship, he changed. His personality changed. 180. He did a 180. He went from being a humble dude. Listen up, right? That guy was already busy with me with sorcery. He was already all up in my grill with Begamina Pela. After some trip to KZN, he decided that he is going to hold me hostage in that relationship, and that's why I would keep on breaking up with him and struggle to leave. And struggle to stay gone. 1 second. That's why I would break up with him and struggle to stay gone. That was Begamina Pela, but that was amateur. That was the kind of random stupid witchcraft that people have been doing since 1922, since 1976. Out here trying to make sure your wife does not cheat on you. Out here trying to make sure your girl stays with you. Out here trying, stupid stuff like that. Like controlling witchcraft where you want to make sure that a person does ABC, etc. But the kind of sorcery that gets a regular Joe all of a sudden to win tender after tender after tender after tender after tender. Next thing he's a millionaire. That's not the kind of stuff that amateurs do. That is the kind of stuff that you have to belong to a secret like establishment. You have to go through certain rituals. The rituals of which there are certain entities that have to enter your body that they might indeed lead you to a certain world, a certain realm. And once you go there, there's no way you're coming out still Jabu. There's no way you're coming out still Mpo. There's no way you're coming out still Tepo. You are not coming out of that still Tepiso, still John, still Peter. You are going to be some ominous version of John, like a Stepford John, a Stepford Peter, a Stepford Jabu. You're gonna be some mechanically and chemically transformed version of the person you used to be. Outwardly, we're going to see you for who you are. If you've seen the movie, what you used to look like. If you've seen the movie Stepford Wives, especially the old one. 1 second. If you have seen the movie Stepford Wives, especially the old school Stepford Wives, right? They manufacture a brand spanking new woman, and then that new woman kills, literally murders, as in finishes off, as in ends the life, puts in a casket the old version. The new one that was done in the 2000s ain't jack in comparison to the 1950s version, or if anything, is in 50s or 70s. Go and watch it on YouTube. Google Stepford Wives. It's on YouTube. The movie. The old one is super ominous. It's like super duper ominous. The new version of a woman, the changed one, the remote controllable one, kills, as in murders, the original, so that there is no opportunity for returning back to a deprogrammed state for the victim. It's like these people go through that same process in that movie Stepford Wives, and the new thing that comes out in the satanic ritual that they do in order for them to start making money all of a sudden or whatever. Yeah, the person that comes out kills the old guy. The person that comes out kills the old guy. I remember even during Begamina Pella days, even during control her to make sure that she never cheats on me days, like he had already been busy with me, but he never changed so comprehensively that I would be like, who am I with? Like proper singing that song, yeah, Tamia, there's a stranger in my house, took a while to figure out. There's no way you could be who you say you are, you gotta be someone else. I never got to a point where I saw a comprehensively different person, no. Until about 4 months before we officially broke up. He became so arrogant. He became so metallic. He was no longer fluid. Guys, that thing that I was fleeing from those men in Morningside, it was in him. It was in him. One time he came to my apartment, stroked my cheek, and looked at my face. At the time I was using Cuticura. I was experimenting with it because I was told somewhere by some colleague that don't look at it being so cheap. It actually works. It is an excellent whatever. So I was using it, and that stuff exfoliated the surface level of my face so fast that my complexion went dark because of it. And when I would smile, I would get crow's feet. I would get wrinkles here because the dry skin would crease, right? I was not aging. I was only 26, for crying out loud, right? And he came over to my apartment. I'm sorry, it was funny how it is that I kind of looked that day, but like I had looked worse. I had been in more compromised positions in front of that guy, yet he never ever mocked me like that. So my funny little weird look that day was irrelevant. Okay, but I did look different, and I had applied a lot of moisture on top of that to try and quickly, eradicate the exfoliation, but it didn't happen. And he came into my apartment that day to see me, and that's another thing. Like, things just happened so quickly for him, and this man changed. Like, he changed. Okay, he got a car without telling me, and the car that he got, it was again just like an overnight thing. He got like a van, like overnight, and it's like, what was the process? What was going on? And when he rocked up, instead of us celebrating, because all this time I'd wanted him to get one, we had been working so hard on that, he was gloating. He was gloating. He comes into my apartment, he strokes my cheek, and he's like, what's going on? What did you just say to me? He was like, that means, what's going on with you? Why are you aging? What's up with you? What's going on with your face? You look like you're aging. My ex had never been that rude to me before. Never. We had fights, but I had never ever experienced anything of that nature. Just below the belt commentary, and then he didn't tell me about his car. Everything. He was just acting so cool. And another thing that was also different, his wardrobe. He had done a whole wardrobe haul. Guys, I told you, like overnight, my ex and I used to see each other every single weekend. He would see me. We would talk every day. His wardrobe haul, car acquisition, and new attitude happened from, it was a day and night shift from one weekend to the next. I am not lying to you. He was a freaking Stepford boyfriend now. He was Stepford Jabu. If his name was Jabu. He was a Stepford Jabu. I am not even lying. He was Stepford Jabu. He was not Jabu. He was the Stepford version. The old him was dead. And it is no wonder that relationship would end within 4 months. God, or you know what, guys, we need to go and discuss this in the next part because I'm not comfortable with the fact that I've been talking for an hour 15 minutes. Let's move to the next part. It's important that you follow me along on this because I have just recently endured something that I don't even know how to tackle this conversation, because I get to give me a thing. I don't know what to do with this man, because I don't know how you get somebody out from something so deep, so evil, that has made them a Stepford version of themselves. I don't know how to tackle it without being insensitive to his bondage. Because at the end of the day, the Lord has come to set the captives free. I don't know how to tackle this, but I am under a severity of attack. And I need alleviation from all of this harlotry. And sometimes all I want to do is just bark like an angry dog. But I don't have liberty or luxury to do that without giving an in-depth explanation of stuff, so that people might get redeemed by this and not turned off from Jesus. I'm trying to help you understand there is a problem in this country, maybe world, and it's converting people into entire zombies. And this process is happening overnight. And the observation of their change is observable. It's observable by people around them. And yet people are not even trying to raise it because they just think a person has turned a new leaf, but he's rude. Next part.